If I ever had a reason to believe that the media collectively has an agenda against people of color, those reasons were recently confirmed.
No permission needed.
Hello there, my free-thinking comrades, and welcome to another episode of One Chick Army. I'm your host, Terri Lewis. Now, before we get started, let me just apologize for missing a week. I was sick as a dog, y'all. Allergies, flu, I don't know what was going on, but it was going on with me. But I just wanted to say that, but let's go ahead and get started because I am back. A couple of weeks ago, a news story came down on my Facebook feed entitled, "Daycare Director Defends Letting Drug Dealer In." When I first saw the headline, I just rolled my eyes and thought, here we go, another daycare director defending some BS practices. But when I saw the interview, this was the furthest from the truth. So here's a quick recap for anybody who missed it, and I'm going to look at my notes so I can make sure I give this to y'all accurately. In Memphis, Tennessee, a suspected drug dealer, Terrell Phillips, was selling cocaine when police spotted him. Terrell Phillips takes off running when he comes across a daycare center, the Academy Daycare. He goes up to the door, knocks, someone comes to the door, slightly opens it, asks him, can they help him? He then forces his way inside. Police officers soon after follow Terrell Phillips inside of the daycare as he tries to dispose of the 9 grams of cocaine. And thankfully, no one, including the children, were hurt. However, if you watch the interview, it seems like the reporter, Trey Paul, is putting the director, Miss Terri Oliver, on trial for the suspect getting into the building in the first place.
Terri Oliver's here with us, Ernie, and she's going to help us understand what exactly happened. How did this guy get in, Terri?
Actually, our door was locked, and we keep it locked every day. He came to the door and knocked on the door and rang the doorbell, and we came to the door and said, how can I help you? And he kind of pushed his way in, and we said, how can I help you? And he said, I need to use the restroom.
Was he using the intercom at that point? You asked.
The intercom.
So you opened the door for this stranger?
Well, we opened the door for a person who could have been patronizing our business. Okay. Because we're servicing 82 students. We don't know every parent, every grandparent, every mother, every father. So we opened the door and said, how may I help you? It is a viable business. And so most businesses open doors and ask questions, how can I help you?
Who made the call to let this guy in that they've never seen before?
Actually, this person who came to our center could potentially be a client. And so since we are a business, when a potential client, or all of our customers are strangers until we know them, we open the door and say, how may I help you? Because to you, it's a stranger. To us, it's a potential client.
Okay, who else saw what I saw? A reporter starts off an interview to seemingly get information from the director about what happened at the daycare. But then he turns it around in an attempt to vilify her. Now, even though I saw red when I watched this reporter try to destroy this woman's credibility, what I loved is how she handled it. Miss Oliver remained calm and pleasant. And when she realized what this reporter's agenda was, she immediately took control of that interview and she controlled that narrative. So I would think what I saw was clear to everyone, right? But it wasn't. And this really shows how our perspectives are deeply rooted in how we're raised and how we're taught to see the world. And unfortunately, but not surprisingly, most of the comments fell within racial lines. And Miss Oliver was not only attacked for letting the drug dealer in, she was also attacked for how she handled the interview. One Facebook commenter wrote, "The daycare owner spoke very well, and it was obvious she was an educated business owner. However, the issue on yesterday was the fact that her staff allowed an unknown person to enter her daycare with innocent children there." And this comment really speaks to the power of language and how easily it can be manipulated to influence people's thoughts. Even the headline reads, and let me read this to y'all, "Daycare director defends letting security in." Now the words push and force have a completely different meaning than the word let. In verb form, the word force is to drive or compel against resistance. Push is a verb that is defined as to press up against with force. The word let is to allow or permit. So the headline, and let me read this again, daycare director defends letting security in is misleading and deceptive. If someone forces their way in or pushes their way in, how is that the same as letting someone in? Now, where have I heard this type of language being twisted around before? Oh yeah, when women are victim blamed after they've been raped. Other annoying comments that I saw come up were about what Miss Oliver could have done or what could have happened. She could have done this. She should have done this. She should have used the intercom to avoid Terrell Phillips getting in the first place. Look, you Monday morning quarterbacks. Hindsight is always 20/20. Anybody can talk about what you should have done or what you could have done after the events have already happened and everything is laid out for you to so clearly see. And to you fortune-telling motherfuckers who can so accurately predict what would have happened, if your foresight is that keen, then your talents can be put to much better use than posting antagonizing comments on Facebook, don't you think? I'm just saying. Now, of all the comments that I read, none of them angered me as much as the one I am about to share. When Trey Paul continuously antagonized Miss Oliver, she sharply made this reference.
We try our best, just like any school, kind of like Sandy Hook's. I think we actually did better than that because he was actually able to get into that building and harm children. And our staff, once again, perfectly executed our safety plan. Perfectly.
And boy, did the shit hit the fan on that one. One Facebook commenter even wrote, "Did she really just compare this situation to Sandy Hook Elementary? What an insult to the Sandy Hook victims and community. There's a huge difference between a dope boy running and hiding from the cops and a psycho deranged lunatic whose goal was to kill children. And there's a difference between a crime-ridden city full of thugs and a quiet, family-oriented small New England town." This comment and the many, many comments like them were contradictory within themselves. According to them, Miss Oliver had no right to compare their situation of a young man forcing his way into their school who could potentially have caused harm to their students to a young man in Sandy Hook who forced his way into a school and actually harmed the students. And you know what I never heard during the Sandy Hook massacre, the Virginia Tech massacre, or even the Columbine High massacre? Extensive blaming of the victims. Sure, talks came up about future safety measures that could protect everyone, but not in a way to attack those who had already been victimized, including the administrations. But let's be real about this. What y'all who are appalled at Miss Oliver making the comparison to Sandy Hook are really saying is little black inner city children's lives are not as valuable as little white suburban children's lives. And what y'all are also saying is little black kids who live in the ghetto amongst thugs, because y'all know thugs is a new term for nigger, right? What y'all are saying is these children do not deserve the same recognition because they are inferior, right? That's what you're saying, you insidious, short-sighted bastards. 21 years without incident. Let me repeat that. 21 years without incident is how long this daycare center has operated. In Memphis, Tennessee, one of the highest crime cities in America, this center has operated 21 years without incident. You can't turn on the news without seeing a daycare center leaving a kid in a hot van and that kid dying. But this center has gone 21 years without incident. And the one time they do have an incident, they follow a protocol and everyone is safe. That is not luck. That is strategy. Another thing I found questionable is the reporter called this woman by her first name. Now, this is a professional woman, a business owner, a taxpayer, and she's clearly older than him, and he calls her by her first name. Now, I'm liberal about a lot of things, but I draw the line at titles, especially with people of color, because they were called boy, and all this to the point that some parents actually named their sons Mr. so they can have some degree of respect when being addressed. You don't call anybody by their first name unless the two of you agree on it, especially when you're in a professional atmosphere. When it all boils down, the interview was disrespectful. And the people who have a problem with Miss Oliver, what they're really upset about is she is a black woman who stood up for herself. Plain and simple, nothing else. And that's all I have to say about that. So now it's time to chat. Topic question: do you think Miss Terri Oliver handled herself appropriately? And if you want to see the full interview, I posted it in the description box below, so just click there. And also post your thoughts because I want to know them. And remember to keep in touch with me on Facebook, Twitter, and OneChickArmy.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe. Just click the box below and subscribe. That way, when I upload YouTube videos, you get alerts. And that's how we stay connected. This is One Chick Army. I am your host, De'Ara Lewis. Over and out.